Today, we're going to dive into one of the most ambitious educational reforms we've seen in a long time. Kenya's big move away from a system that was in place for over 3 decades to something totally new. We're breaking down the shift from the old 844 system to the new competency-based curriculum, a change that really rethinks the entire purpose of school. So, to really get why such a massive change was necessary, you have to go back to findings like this one. A 2009 evaluation from the Kenya Institute of Education just laid it all out. The old system, which was supposed to create self-reliance, was actually falling short. Students were leaving school without the real, practical skills they needed to build a life. And this wasn't some small problem, it was a huge, fundamental issue right at the heart of the national curriculum.
And that finding leads to this really critical question, doesn't it? This is the exact question that Kenyan education reformers had to tackle. If the old way isn't working, how do you build a new one? One that actually prepares kids for the real world and values what they can do as much as what they can score on a test.
To build that new system, they first had to take a hard look at what wasn't working. And that brings us to the 844 system, the structure that pretty much defined Kenyan education for a whole generation. You see, the 844 system had become super academic and all about exams. The curriculum was just overloaded with content, which led to what the official reports called fierce competition for grades, instead of, actually learning useful skills. It created this high-stakes environment where a student's unique talents and interests kind of got lost in the shuffle. And the result? Just like we saw, graduates were often stepping into the world of work without the practical abilities they really needed. Okay, so with the problems clearly laid out, the focus had to shift. It was time to create a completely new philosophy for education. And we're not just talking about changing a few subjects. This was about defining a whole new vision for what a Kenyan learner could and should be.
And here it is. This is the new vision. It's not about creating the best test taker anymore. It's about fostering an engaged, empowered, and ethical citizen. I mean, that is a huge shift. It's about developing well-rounded people who can contribute to society, who feel confident in their own abilities, and who operate with a strong moral compass.
The mission driving that vision is so simple, but it's incredibly powerful: nurturing every learner's potential. This is a direct answer to the old system, where so many students could get labeled as failures if they didn't do well on exams. The new goal is to make sure that the unique talents and abilities of every single child are seen and developed. So, it's one thing to have a great vision, right? But how do you actually make it happen in the classroom? Well, Kenya's answer is all about shifting the focus from just memorizing stuff to developing a set of core skills. The entire curriculum is now built on this foundation of 7 key competencies. These are the skills that reformers decided are absolutely essential for thriving not just in Kenya, but in the 21st century world we all live in. And when you look at this list, you can immediately see the emphasis on modern, practical skills. Things like communication, critical thinking, digital literacy. These are now the pillars of learning. Everything, from math to language to science, is now taught with the goal of building these skills. It's about teaching students how to think and work together, not just what to know. Now, this one is really interesting, the focus on a learner's inner world. Self-efficacy isn't a typical school subject. It's about building a student's belief in their own ability to succeed. It's about teaching them resilience, so when they hit a roadblock, they see it as a challenge to overcome, not as a reason to give up.
And then you have a competency like this, which is just a direct response to the world we live in today. This isn't just about knowing how to turn on a computer. It's about understanding how to find and judge information online, how to communicate safely, and how to use technology as a powerful tool for learning and creating.
So, you've got this new philosophy, you've got a new set of core skills. That means the very structure of the school system had to change too. The journey from a little kid in pre-primary all the way to graduation now looks completely different. The new school journey is now organized into 3 clear levels. Each stage is designed to build on the last one, taking a learner from those foundational skills in the early years all the way to more specialized paths in senior school. So this new 2633 structure replaces the old 844. It kicks off with 5 years of early years education, then moves into 6 years of broad-based learning in middle school, and then it all wraps up with a 3-year senior school, where students can actually start to specialize based on their own talents and interests. So, when you put all of these pieces together, the new vision, those 7 competencies, the new structure, you get to the single most important change at the very heart of this entire reform. This comparison just makes the shift so clear. The entire system is moving from a world of knowing to a world of doing. The old 844 system was all about acquiring content, with the big goal being to pass a final exam. The new competency-based curriculum? It's all about applying skills, using tests to help learning along the way, not just to judge it at the end. The big question is no longer just what do you know, it's what can you do with what you know? You know, Kenya's new curriculum is a really bold answer to that question, built around 7 core skills they believe are essential. It's a massive, massive undertaking, but it leaves all of us with a fascinating question to think about. In our rapidly changing world, what is the single most important thing a school should teach?